Hey everyone, welcome
Hi
back.
guys.
Hi Ruth, how are you doing?
Hi.
Doing great. How are you?
I'm good. We're glad to have you today. Last but not least, of course. Ruth, can you please introduce yourself to the public? Who are you? What do you do? And what do you do at Microsoft?
That's a good question. Hi everyone. My name is Ruth Yakubu, and I'm a cloud advocate at Microsoft. And I am on the AI and machine learning group.
Okay, cool. You're going to talk about improving the fairness and reliability of AI solutions. We've already had in our panel discussion quite some discussions about responsible AI, but I'm sure you will go more in depth with your session. So if you're ready for it, we give the platform
I've been listening
to you.
To the panel discussion, so I'm like, yay, they're setting the precedence.
So I hope it was a good introduction to your session.
What's that?
I hope it was a good intro to your keynote now.
They did a superb job.
Well, then the platform is yours, Ruth, and we are a listening ear.
Okay, so let me share my desktop. Give me a few minutes. And let me know when you guys can see my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, it was delayed. You guys could see it before I could.
Oh.
So
it's the magic of AI, I guess.
Okay. Actually, that's a good way to start a session, but let me navigate to the very top. So give me a few minutes. While I'm doing that, do you have any questions for me?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, give me a few minutes.
Okay.
Get to the beginning of my slide, then we can rock and roll. Okay. So almost there.
No worries.
It seemed like you guys see the slide up, refresh before I do.
Yeah, we can see
it.
Okay, so let me get started. So in this session, I'm going to talk about how we developers can improve the fairness and reliability of AI, the AI solutions that we train and develop. So, okay. So one of the things that is very exciting about AI is everywhere. It's part of our lives and it's at the cutting edge of everything that we do. Most applications, almost every application is infused with AI. But on top of that, almost on a weekly basis, we constantly hear these news headlines highlighting concerns of AI, areas where it is used or misused. So with this comes with a lot of societal expectation. The expectations that the society has is constantly increasing. And one of the questions is the trustworthiness of AI solutions. The next thing is, okay, if their AI solutions, they have their functionality overall, are they trustworthy? But also companies developing AI solutions, do they have our best interests at heart? So those are some of the things that we constantly hear in the news chatter when it comes to AI. So one of the things that Microsoft is doing is helping enable practitioners like data scientists, AI developers, and organizations on how they can develop their AI systems or solutions more responsibly, to make them more responsible. So some of the areas that are critical is risk. So like addressing all the areas or assessing the areas where there are negative impacts that may be coming from an AI model, or having the ability to really understand a AI model. So similar to how Francesca was mentioning, this comes into areas where we have to explain why a model is having a certain outcome, or being able to interpret the behavior of a model. And lastly is trust. A lot of people may think, okay, I create a model, people are using it, but over time, we have to think about the human aspect of it. Is it harmful to people? Is it reliable? Is it safe? That sort of thing. So making sure those are met. And also, when it comes to trust, it's also the way people perceive maybe an organization's AI solutions. So you may be doing well, but have like a AI solution that had a negative effect on society, and that can totally ruin business or organization's reputation. So that's where Microsoft is keeping those in mind to help developers and companies be able to take those into the forefront of everything that we're doing. So the different ways Microsoft is making a lot of investment and commitment is coming up with these responsible AI principles as we embark on this new evolution of AI. How can we make it efficient and productive? But how can we make sure in the end-to-end processes that when we're training and developing these AI solutions, how do we make sure they're being fair, they're reliable, and safe? About privacy, how are they handling privacy and security? Then when you have a model out there, how inclusive is it to different groups or different demographics? Then transparency, we can get into details on transparency, then accountability. So these are the key areas that Microsoft is really focused and committed into helping developers and organizations be able to produce AI systems that are more responsible. So I know a lot of you guys maybe wonder, okay, why responsible AI? We get the principles, but if a model is accurate, why should we really care? We've been doing business for a while. So one of the investment and commitment is around ethics and building solutions responsibly. So ethics and responsible AI. And when you think of fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and inclusion, some of the effects, use case that come in this area are things like sensitive areas, like the consequences of the impact of providing opportunity. So you need to ask yourself a question. The AI solution that I have, is it limiting or denying access or service, or is it excluding a certain group? That's one area. Then what is the risk of the AI solution imposing physical or psychological harm to people out there? Then also constantly, when we think of society where AI is going to be used, is okay, what are the threats to human rights that potentially an AI system or solution can impose? Then the other area is accountability and transparency. So as most of you guys know, AI, when you have an AI model, it's a black box. So it's very hard to decipher from these outputs that the AI solution is given, how were the outputs derived based upon the input that it was given. So one of the areas is transparency. Being able to explain, not just explain why a model behaved the way they did, but now we have a lot of industries out there that have regulations where you have to be able to provide some kind of what's it called? Proof, explanation, auditing, and be compliant into explaining reasons why an AI solution predicted an outcome the way it predicted, or recommended something the way it recommended. So let's take the financial services industry, for instance. When practitioners or businesses or banks are issuing loans, they have to be able to explain why a loan was given to X person versus one person versus another. So being able to provide this transparency is important. Then communication. So communication is not just being able to explain how your model behaved, but you should be able to explain or disclose when, why, and how you went about building and deploying a model. And another way is also to be forthright into disclosing areas where the model does not perform optimally to the end user or the public. Then the last area is the ability for developers or data scientists to be able to evaluate and debug models and monitor models over time, but work very closely with stakeholders in terms of making decisions, empowered decisions based upon what the model is doing. Then lastly, at Microsoft, we constantly look at ways to make artificial intelligence real to businesses or developers out there by expanding on the AI technology and also with the OpenAI platform. So as you're wondering, what does this mean to you? With all the different commitments that Microsoft has made around responsible AI, what does it mean to you? So the good thing is Microsoft has developed a lot of tools and also infused it in our Azure and machine learning tools and our AI services to enable developers when they're building or training machine learning solutions to be able to build them and also debug them quicker. There are tools out there to debug, but how can they do it quicker and in a more efficient way, but also be able to deploy a responsible AI. Then also enabling decision makers. So providing that transparency for them to understand the model, but also to make decisions based upon the predictions faster and with more confidence based upon the holistic information that the AI solution is able to produce. Then lastly, improve people's perception and trust for the AI systems that we're building out there. So as an AI developer or data scientist, we're the traditional way of going about and debugging AI solutions is, hey, you go through and build, whether it's a classification model or a regression type of use case, you build the model, then how do I debug to figure out how effective it is? So let's say, for instance, I say, hey, this model is 93% accurate. Then we say, yay. But the question is, does it mean that it's 90 out of the 93% accuracy? Is it fair? Is it inclusive? How do we go about measuring that? Because a lot of the way we go about measuring our AI solutions are based upon calculations, but some of the human aspects are harder to decipher and to be able to really debug and see the accuracy of it. So an example is, let's say, a speech-to-text model, evaluating the accuracy rate and the tolerance of the transcription may be different for, let's say, a doctor's office versus making transcriptions for, let's say, a book. So how do you measure how accurate something is? So those are different areas that we need to take into consideration. Then the question is, what is in the black box? Because our models are black box. We have input, output. But how do we go about explaining how the AI solution is going about and making its prediction? So that's always a challenge. So as we think of all those challenges, to make it more real, let's think of some of the gaps that we tend to have after we create our model, the limited calculations in terms of measuring the performance metrics of a model. How would you be able to look at feature error distribution? So this basically means that in the areas that your model is failing, what features are contributing to that? In most cases, we don't know. Then how can we compare one cohort versus another? Because the model may be performing perfectly in one group of people, but when you expose it to a certain group of people, that's when the performance really is poor. So how do we go about exposing that? Then sensitivity, what features, sensitive features can we assess to evaluate the fairness? So I use the example of a loan approval. So if a loan is being approved mostly for males than females, then, okay, how do we go in and figure out, okay, where's the gap? Then explainability, interpretability, that as well. So if you're a doctor, you use an AI system to help you make a diagnosis. The question, let's say you're audited, what were the key features that led you to diagnose a patient that they had this maybe ailment versus another? Then decision making. One of the things about AI is not just about data scientists or AI developers. We have to also bring in the business analysts and the stakeholders in the picture. So when a model makes a prediction, we have to think of what are the counterfactuals. So back to this case of, let's say, a loan approval. If you deny a loan to somebody, you should, and they ask you, okay, why was the loan declined? You can't say, well, the AI solution told me to decline it. No. The good thing, one of the things that we need to take into consideration is counterfactuals are, okay, what are the features that we can alter in order to change the outcome? So with that, you can tell the end user that, hey, if you increase your salary by X, or if you increase your credit rating by X points, you should be able to the model will approve your loan. So there shouldn't be any ambiguity on the user side. Then also making recommendations. So decision makers being able to take a step back and ask hypothetical questions like, okay, what will happen if we introduce this new drug? What would be the effects of it? So those are different areas of when we're building AI solutions, how can we build them responsibly? So one of the things that Microsoft has really invested a lot of time is open source tools. I know Francesca mentioned some of these: Fairlearn, InterpreML, error analysis, EconML, Hacks tool, Counterfeit Dice. There's so many tools out there that the Microsoft research team has been working closely with organizations to be able to bring this holistic, way of empowering developers to be able to debug and gain insights to help them be able to mitigate areas that they could be gaps into their AI solution and models. So let's take a look at what Microsoft has done. So in Build, back in May at Microsoft Build, we announced the Azure Machine Learning Responsible AI Dashboard. And this is a very useful tool because in the real world, if you have your model, instead of having multiple Python scripts to debug or use some of these open source tools, Microsoft has built a dashboard with all of these technologies in the back end for a one-stop shop place for developers. And knowing that Azure Machine Learning is the end-to-end solution for the whole machine learning life cycles, it provides you opportunity to be able to identify errors. So doing error analysis, figure out where in your model there could be errors. Also, fairness assessment. How do we figure out where whether your model is fair or not? Then once you have identified that, how do we start, while we're exploring, how do we start diagnosing? So doing model interpretation, doing counterfactual analysis, and also data exploration. Are they imbalances or disparities in the data? Then the next thing is, how do we go about mitigating it? So if there are unfairness, how do we go about fixing the fairness? If there are data disparities, how do we go about doing that? So to give you an idea, I want to go through each section of the dashboard. So the very first thing is error analysis. And basically, I just copied, chopped up the key areas that are important. But when you launch it in Azure Machine Learning, it looks a little more pretty and intuitive, and each section is more easy to understand. So let's say you have a model, it's able to show you based upon a decision tree where your errors are most concentrated on. So the very first tree, like the dark red areas, it's like, okay, these are areas where most of your errors are coming from. Is able to show you a heat map, so you can dive deeper into certain features and to be able to see, okay, which subgroups of your data is the error coming from. Then, similar to how we have feature importance, a good thing that error analysis also does is it gives you a whole distribution of, okay, these are the key areas that are causing features that are causing errors in your model. So that's the very end image. Then the next thing is having a model overview. So the normal traditional way that we have in terms of measuring AI performance metrics, let's say confusion metrics, or looking at the mean root square or R square metrics. The good thing is we still have those, but the good, I keep saying the good thing, we can see how excited I am. But one of the benefit and advantages of that, it goes a step deeper. You can create different cohorts and subgroups and be able to do comparison analysis of where your model is performing well and areas where it's having challenges. So those are the types of information that it gives. And all these heat maps will also show you areas that your model is struggling. Another thing is data exploration. So with data exploration, show you the disparities in your data. You can also compare X and Y axis and debug how certain features are impacting other features. And you can see areas where maybe your data set is overrepresented in a certain feature or underrepresented in another feature. So to go ahead and go back to the drawing board and change your data set. Feature importance is very important. So on a holistic level, so on a global level, as you're trying to figure out, okay, what are the important features that are leading to my model prediction, you can totally use a dashboard, and it shows you all the areas that important features that are driving your model's prediction. And you can toggle on the individual level and look at this specific individual for the use case that your model is trying to predict. These were the key factors that led to the prediction for this individual, for their unique setting. Then lastly, we have counterfactual. So it'll show you how your data is dispersed based upon the prediction. But the good thing is in those dotted areas, you can click on one of the dots, like look at the certain individual data set. Let's say you're measuring, okay, how likely is the employee to leave a company? The prediction will show that, yes, this individual is more, there's a prediction that this individual will leave the company. So what additional feature and capability this will give you is that decision-making, like what features do we need to alter to make the employee stay? So with this one, it will give you, in my example, I selected, okay, give me 10 different alternative alterations I can potentially make for this individual to stay. So those are the powers of unlocking your AI model to be able to make decisions and to totally understand how well your model is performing. And another thing is also a good way to also catch errors, because let's say for a loan prediction type of scenario, I ask, give me all the different counterfactuals that if a loan is disapproved for this individual, what can they do to change, get approved? And one of the suggestion is if they're male, the suggestion is like, okay, become a female, then your loan will be approved. Those are the areas that you can identify that, okay, there's your model may not be behaving correctly. So to end, what Microsoft has basically done in the Azure machine learning is incorporate everything that you're used to doing, building your models in the whole machine learning life cycle, from bringing the data, training the data, deploying the data. It incorporates all these tools for you to be able to debug your model, ship it out, and also with security, have also open source tools like Smart Noise or Counterfeit to help you for the security part, because you are dealing with data back and forth. So how do you mask the data for people prying eyes and whatnot, and also controlling like your inventory. So lastly, to end, I'd like to end by this quote by Brad Smith, the president and chief legal officer at Microsoft. And basically, in the quote I like is, when your technology changes the world, you bear the responsibility to help address the world that you have helped create it. So if you help create a model that's harmful to society, you are also going to live with the consequences of that technology that you've built. So to end with, these are very useful resources if you want to learn about what Microsoft is doing in the area of responsible AI. You can visit AKMS/RAI. And if you want to get a tutorial, hands-on tutorial, I know you guys can't wait to get the hands-on tutorial on how to build and deploy a model, and also use responsible AI dashboard with all the cool features that I mentioned. You can visit the second link for an end-to-end tutorial. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the insightful presentation, how we need to, all the things we need to think about when we want to build a responsible AI model. I think there's a lot of lessons that many of us can use in our next project. Thanks
Definitely,
very much.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
All right. Have a
great day.
Have a good
Yeah,
great
you too.
day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.